Hello and welcome back to another video on Python. Not very much Discord .py, though we will have the code in here, but I won't be executing this. This video is mainly on showing and going over the code for a bot that can play music in multiple servers at once. So far, I've had it up to like 3 or 4 servers with 2 to 3 songs per server queued. It can go a lot higher than that. I'm not really worried about it, but so yep. So I'm gonna be walking you through this. This code can be found in my Discord. Link will be in the description below. So if you do download this, you'll be greeted with all these comments, and I kind of sectioned out the code with these pound signs. But yep, just if you watch this, you'll know kind of what's going on, but the comments will actually kind of guide you through it. Hopefully, I kind of type really fast whenever I make comments, so I might have made a lot of spelling mistakes and stuff. But yeah, it should be the basic stuff. I'm also going to be making some SQL tutorials, kind of few parts. I might actually do it one at the end of this video, kind of do like a basic creating of the database and like adding a table to it. But for now, I'm gonna go over this. So, what you'll need to do this is you're gonna need SQLite 3, all right, and then you're gonna need OS. So OS, and I don't think you'll need system for this, but this is just for the voice commands that you can find in other tutorials on my channel. But there is a program that is not needed, but I would recommend you download. It's called SQLite Browser. I will leave a link in the description of this video. What it does is here, I'll open it up right now. It allows you to open databases inside on your computer and stuff like that, so you can see the tables, see the columns and the rows inside the table, browse data, stuff like that. You can make tables in here. You can see the SQL, what's happening. It's just really helpful for people that don't really understand code-wise what's happening. You can kind of see it visually. So we'll first start out here with the join command. So when you execute the join command, it basically it executes some SQL code. So it does create table if not exist, right? So it creates a new table if it doesn't exist, and the table's name is music, right? And then it creates all these columns right here. It creates like num. Now num I usually just do as the first column to keep track of all of them, because it integer, and you must have a primary key in each one of the music, and the primary key cannot be the same in 2 different columns, right? So I just do num, and then I just do auto increment, right, and not null. So it just goes, so whenever it adds a new row to the table, it puts a 1, and then whenever it adds another one, it adds a 2. It's auto increment, so you just don't have to really worry about that. Alrighty, and then we have some variables down here. We're getting some server Discord server info, and then we're deleting from the music where server ID equals server ID and the server name equals server name. So we're just doing a delete if it's there, basically. So it won't delete something random. It's deleting it so we can create it again, right? And then we commit, so db.commit. So up here where we made a connection to our server, we make the connection as db variable. All right, and then the cursor is SQL. So db.commit basically is like a save. All right, and then we're getting some more variables about the server, stuff like that. And then here we're inserting into it. So we've just deleted if there's one from the server that we're making and doing the join command on. We're deleting that, and then we're going to make a new one. So insert into music. So we made the music table up here, and then we're going to insert into that table. We're going to insert a server ID, a server name, a voice ID, a voice name. Oop, accidentally dragged that there. A voice name, a username, a next queue. So this is just basically the number of songs, or the number that's going to be attached to the queue, right? So next queue, so that'll be by default 1, as you can see, queue num. All right, and then we'll insert a song, or a queue name and a song name, right? So here we have values. So it's saying we need these columns. We're going to fill these columns with values, and we're going to do question mark, because we want to do question marks because we don't want it's well, basically it's you're exiting, or you're escaping your variables. This is actually it's I think it's a security measure for SQL. So you escape them so people aren't typing into your SQL code. So if they are typing into it, you can get an SQL injection attack, basically, where they can just take over your SQL and see all your tables. So it's just common practice to do the question marks and then put the variables outside as the question marks. So right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 question marks. And then as the first question mark, we're inserting server ID, so server ID, right? But yeah, this is basically just a security measure, escaping the what's it called? Escaping the variables so people don't really type into it. Now, this wouldn't really apply here since nobody's giving us information. We're all just getting the information. But if you do have something where someone types in some like letters, so like if they're searching on a shop, say if they're searching for like hammers or something like that, you don't want them to be typing right into the lookup for the SQL. You want them to be typing into a variable, setting that as a variable, then having to escape that and just setting out like this, right? So they can't comment out some things and then take over your SQL code. It's we did that up here just in a different way. We have it set as a variable inside of these things. It's essentially the same stuff, but it's not really needed here, but I'd still do it. Alrighty, so you get the basics of this. So we have the question mark values for each one of these names, and then we have the variables that are set up here. Right, and then we basically do, I haven't really updated this stuff from my most recent videos for the join command. I got to get on that, but yeah, this is the old join stuff. It'll still work, but it's outdated. So then I have a test command in here just for testing purposes, and then we're now moving on to the leave command. So the leave command, we're basically just going to do some cleaning, right? So we don't want to leave any old information from a server that's not being used, right? We don't want to keep our database filled with information it doesn't need. So basically what we'll do is we'll just get the server name, the server ID, the channel ID, and the channel name, and then we'll just do a delete. We'll just delete it because they're leaving. We don't need them anymore, right? But if you remember, we did this up here. This is just in case like the leave command isn't used and there's still old stuff from this specific server. We're just going to make sure it's deleted, right? But if they do use the delete or the leave command, it will delete it from our database. So we'll do delete from music, where server ID equals this, and server name equals this, and voice ID equals this, and voice name equals this, right? And then we'll do a db commit. This will save it. And this is basic leave stuff. All right, and now we're on to the play. All right, and I haven't updated this. As you can see, there's no star next to the URL. But we're getting information whenever the play command, so we're getting server name, server ID, and channel name. All right, and then we're doing in a try block here. SQL execute, so select song name from music where server ID and server name equal these two variables, and voice ID equals this. Oh, and channel name equals this. So we're basically getting these from the server, saying, okay, well, this stuff must be in our database since they're in a channel, and they must have used the channel /join. And that's why it's in a try block. So if this stuff looks for this and can't find anything, and does a name underscore song variable and then does a fetch one, it'll throw up an error and it'll do an exception, and then it'll put this into the Discord server. It says the bot must join a voice channel, right? So say we've done the join command and we're now doing a play command. So it'll select from these things, select where this stuff equals that, and then it'll fetch one. So this will fetch select song name. So it'll select the song name. So this will have, so imagine you have rows, song ID, or server ID, server name, voice ID, voice name. So up here, these are all rows. So sir, these all right here. So we're selecting this one where these, where were we? All right, where these variables are what we want, right? So we're select song name of song, right? So we're fetching this. You can do fetch one, fetch many, where you can designate how many, so you can put it like an integer in there, or you can just fetch all, right? And this puts them in a list, right? So a list is, so the name underscore song would be equal to something like this, right? So say if the song name is song 1, right? It'd be that, right? So we don't really want all this. So down here, as you can see, whenever we do use this, where is it? Oh yeah, let's check queue. So whenever we do, so name song, we have to put a 1 for the spot inside of the list that we want. So we want the first object, which is a 0, right? So we'll just go back. We don't want that. So we're fetching server name, name of server, and name of song, right? Then we're going down here. We'll skip check queue for right now. So the song there equals os.path or os.path.is file. So we're checking to see if our song with the attached server name, the mp3, is already in this directory. If it is there, remove it first off. Then update music, set next queue to equal 1, where server ID equals question mark and question mark. So we pass in server ID and server name. And we do a db commit, so we save. So we update the music table, set next queue to equal to 1. So we set it to equal 1, just in case we had like some old queue stuff, right? And then we print removed old song file. And then if we do permission error, trying to delete song file, but it's being played, error music playing, right? So then we skip that. We come down here and we do SQL execute, select queue name from music where server ID equals server, or equals server ID and server name equals server name. Then we do name of queue and we fetch that, fetch 1. So we do is queue in the file. So we're going to check to see if this server, specifically this server's ID, if this server's queue is still up. Because if we're playing the play command, it should be an old queue. So we'll just do, if it is, then we'll delete it. We'll do all this deleting, right? And then we'll send getting everything ready now. So voice equals get bot.voice client. So this is basic voice stuff here. Then we're going to set the song path. So we're going to do dot, which is current working directory. And then we're going to name song, so 0. So that'll just be like song. And then name of server, right? .mp3. And then we're gonna do all this. So this is also old from my most recent videos, this stuff, but just bear with me here. And then that's what our name is going to be. That, so we're doing out template is that name, right? So it'll get the URL that we pass in with the play command, download it, and then set it to this name. So name of song. And then name of server. So I think inside of our database, the name of the song is song plus the ID of the server. So we tag the ID of the server on the end. And then we put the name of the server at the end of that. So the actual name. So if the name of your server is test, it'll be name, or it'll be song, and then a bunch of numbers, and then in parentheses, it'll be test, right? So we can kind of keep them straight like that. Then it'll play it down here. We also do this Spotify stuff. And then we're doing playing, and then pause, resume, and stop. Or pause and resume are basically the same stuff. There's nothing changed here. And then stop. We're going to be doing. We're going to be getting the server name and server ID, and then we're going to be updating music set number queue to 1. So, if you remember from my first few tutorials, we did a what did we do? I think a list or we did a dictionary of the queue num, remember? And then we would clear the queue num. This is basically clearing the queue num, right? And then we're saving, and then we're selecting queue name from music where server ID is that. And then we're name of queue, and we're fetching 1. So this is the stop command, right? And then we're looking to see if the queues. So we basically have a queues folder in this directory. And then inside the queues folder is a bunch of queues for each server, queues folder. And we're seeing if is true, and then we're setting the absolute path. The queue main is, then we're joining this variable and this one, and then we're doing that. And then if it is in there, we're doing removing it. So we're removing this server's queue, right? Then we're going to do basic stop command shit, right? So, yep. So we're basically just updating our queue. We're just selecting the queue name, and we're removing the queue, updating the next queue number. So this does that, and then remember the leave command deletes our information from the database. That's why the stop command doesn't delete our information from the database, because if we use the stop command, we might want to play more songs. We just don't want to play what's playing currently, right? Then we have the queue command. Right, and then so queue command, what it does is it get the server name and the server ID, and it puts it in a try block. So this is basic play command, but we're going to be getting new stuff first. So we're going to get the name of the queue, right? Name of the song, and then we're going to get the queue num, right? Remember queue num from our basic join, our basic voice command tutorial? Well, that is now stored in the database as next queue. Remember, we're doing up here whenever we do like a stop command, we're updating it to 1. So that's basically like queue num clear, right? So we get that, but it's in a try block. So if there's an exception, an error, we do bot must join first, because if there's an error with this, it means it's probably not in the database and it's probably hasn't joined. So queue. So now we're doing, is this in there? If it's not, make it, and then make we're setting this file, setting it to dir. Then we're going to join it with the name of our queue, because we want to check to see if our queue folder is in there, right? And then we're doing this as a boolean, remember, and then is directory, right? So if that is false, make it, because we're definitely going to need it. So then we come down here, so SQL.execute, select server name from music, where server ID and server name, right? So we're selecting server name, so name of server, right? We're fetching 1. So now this name of server is equal to the name of server. And then we're going to do queue path, and then equals os.absolute path, os.path.real path of queue underscore main, which is our directory of queues, and then there's a queue in there, so it's going to queue and then a string of our server ID. So it's basic. Song name is going to be song with our server ID on it, and then the queues, and then inside the queues folder is going to be a queue with our server ID. So that's how we keep track of everything. So we're going to put the queue plus queue main, so that's our basic directory. So say if we're on the C drive, so it's going to be C queues, queue with server ID folder, and then inside that is going to be the name of our song, right? And then the name of our song is going to be queue num, so the number inside of our database, and then is going to be the song name of our song, so it's going to be number dash song, server ID, in parentheses, server name, right? So that's how we keep track and we don't overwrite whenever we do this. And that's our queue path, right? And that's our output template. That's where we're outputting it. Then we're going to download, right? And then basic Spotify stuff. So this is explaining how our songs are going to be listed inside the queue. So it's song 1, song server ID number, and then I just didn't add the parentheses at the end there. And then we're doing an adding because we've added it here. Adding, and this prints out to the server, the Discord server. And then the last thing we want to do is update music set numQ to equal the numQ. So we wanted to set it to equal itself plus 1, right? Where server ID and server name, right? And then save it. So we basically just want to add 1 to it. So then the next song that we do is song 1. We do the first one. And song 2, because we just added at the end of our first queue command, we just added 1. So we get 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. Right? And then the next command is basically the same, but there's nothing to it. Because all it does is just stop instead of deleting a bunch of shit. And whenever you stop it, it just does this. Hold up, where is it at? Play. It does this. It does the after lambda e check queue. So we have the check queue function whenever we do the next. Alrighty, so then let's go over the check queue inside of the play. So inside of check queue, this is just basically a lot of checking of stuff to make sure it's there, and then if it is there, moving it, right? So we do dir os.path. So inside of this is another function. So this, we don't have the connection, so we're just going to make the connection again, right? And then SQL.execute, and then we'll select queue name from music, where server IDs, that stuff. So we're selecting the queue name column where from the table where server ID is this and the server name is this. And then we'll set that to name underscore queue variable and fetch 1, and we'll select server name from the music table where server ID is this and server name is this. Right, and then we'll set that to name underscore server. We'll do that. Then we'll go down and we'll do queue underscore infile os.path.isdir queues, right? So if that is there is true, we'll get that, we'll get this, we'll add that to the end. So we'll set the dir name to queues / our queues from this server. Then we'll do length, and we'll list off how many are in here, -1, because we're taking one out right now. Then we're going to do try first file, and then we'll get the first file, as you can see there. Song num is first file dot split at the dash, because we're going to just only add 1 dash in there. So we're going to song num, and then this is an exception, so there's no more queues. Update music to set. So we're basically just clearing the queue num back to 1, right? So here we're now moving the song file gotten above out of the queues folder, right? So we're now moving what we got here out. So main location, so this is the basic working directory where this file is, and song path, right? So song underscore path is the absolute path and the real path of queue main. So queue main is set up here. So we do /s plus first file, which is set here, right? And then we do if length is not equal to 0. Print song done playing next queued. Print song still in queued, still queue. Song equals there, OS. So we're checking to make sure there is this specific song is in there. If it is in there, remove it. Right? This is the one that we just played that is now done playing. So we want to remove it before we move another one out there with the same name, because it will create all such different problems, right? And we want to remove it. And then the next step we want to do is move this, the one that's queued up, to our main location where this old one here just was, but we just removed it, so it's not there anymore. So we want to do a for file in os.list directory. If file equals this, rename it to this, right? So we want to remove this one from it because we can't really, we could, but we don't really want to. I mean, we could, I think you could remove this step, but for these purposes, we didn't really do that because we wanted just to rename it to the song name. And then we get to play it, right? And then afterwards, it just runs this again. And then there's an else statement for this if here. If it is equal to 0, we do update music is next, and then we just return, right? But that basically means there's no queued songs, right? And then there's an else statement for this if. So if queue is false, so if there is no queues folder, then we do update music, no songs were queued before the ending of the last song, right? Alrighty. So that's basically a rundown of the queue or the voice commands that work on multiple servers using a database. I know this wasn't really the best tutorial, it's kind of just a run through, but it's something that you can watch and kind of understand a little better if you do download this code and try to play around with it. I was going to add a little tutorial part 1 of SQL, like a tutorial at the end of this, but it seems as if this video has turned into a half-hour making, so I'm going to just save that for another video. Maybe tomorrow I'll release that, I'm not sure. But the SQL tutorials will not be focused more on Discord. It'll be focused more on just basic Python SQL, so then you'll be able to take that and then kind of move it into your Discord. But after I do these parts of the SQL tutorials, I don't know how many parts is going to be for right now, but or how in depth I'm going to get with it, but after those I will do some tutorials on using the SQL code inside of Discord. So I basically want to get the groundwork for everyone that's interested in the SQL. I want to get that set, and then I'm going to work on the SQL in the Discord. So I want to get the basics out of the way. Alrighty, so that's going to be the end of this tutorial. I appreciate you guys watching. If you want to download this code, it's in the Discord. It's in, I forget the channel name. Let's see here. It's in bot-command. No, it's in... Yes, it's in bot commands channel. It's Discord voice _DB. It's basically this name here. I do update it every once in a while, but yeah, if you download that and you watch this video, you'll know the basics plus these comments you can have explaining it. And also in test code channel, there's an SQL test code that I have in there that's got nothing to do with Discord, but it's just basic code of SQL that you can go over with some comments. So there's, I've provided some resources for you to learn some SQL without the tutorials, but I will be making tutorials if you're more of a learner from videos. So thanks for watching. Yep, join the Discord if you need any help on anything Python. Honestly, I just helped someone not even related to any of the tutorials, and it was awesome. I love helping you guys. It's awesome. Yep. I'll see you guys in the next video.